have to get up so early. And so it's just one of those things. It's like, it just is what it is right now, you know? It's like that way with everything. I don't like being like crazy busy, but just trying to.
I don't like it either. It's just like my time off supposed to be my freaking time off, but we sound good, by the way. But
good.
freaking spending it looking for a stupid vehicle.
I'll work. I'll lock that. Yeah, dude. Just like.
Be nice to relax for once. I'm sorry I'm complaining, but
no, you're good. I get it. I mean, I don't know, man. I never know if like, I don't know, man. I work hard. You work hard. Like, it's just one of those things that like you kind of come to terms with about things.
Yep.
It's not like, you know. Work hard. You work hard. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, we do sound good. Gosh, I love these mics. What a good choice. Yeah, man. It's not like this is our like we get to sit here and like do this all the time, and this is our full-time thing. It's just sitting and talking about movies and stuff. It's just that's the way that it is for like most people. I think it's one of the reasons why like when I can't remember what was it. I think there was this like thing that went around a couple weeks ago where like Tina Fey was complaining about like people who are like wealthy who have like side hustles or whatever. And it was kind of weird, man. Like I can't believe sometimes, and it's not just like famous people, just how like disconnected so many people are from like normal stuff.
Right.
It's really weird. It always just kind of like shocks me. It happens with like at work sometimes too. Just people that like come in and like they like stick their nose in places where it doesn't belong. And I guess that's always been a thing. But it drives me crazy sometimes. Like legitimately, it makes me lose my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
And I'm always like, what? And you know, you got to be like somewhat courteous to everybody, but it like when they come through, because obviously it's like business. But sometimes I just want to be like, listen. I feel like if I owned my own company, I would literally be like, yeah, so that's not your business. Like, sorry. And it's I'm telling you, man, like I thought at first it was like COVID,
right,
that caused a lot of this. But I'm starting to think that's not the case. I'm starting to think like it's just people are just kind of like, yeah, like people are just kind of pricks. And you just, you know, there's this like this phrase that one of my bosses was telling me one time, because this guy like pissed me off really bad one day, and he's like, well, you know, hurt people, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I agree. I was like, but also that doesn't give you the right to scream at me over something. You know what I mean?
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that so many times, dude. That hurt people, and I'm like, I get that, but at the same time, that doesn't justify.
It doesn't justify your behavior.
There's
there's
level to things, right? There's certain things I'm not going to say anything about. Certain things I'm like,
people have been jerks for centuries, for sure. Mace man, what's up, dude? Yeah, sorry, Joseph. What were you saying?
It's like, calm down, like,
yeah,
you know.
Well, we're
just here living our lives, people. We're not trying to like.
It's always,
how big of a deal is it, the thing that someone is complaining about, you know?
Yeah, it always just kind of shocks me, dude, because I'm like, even when you tell people like no, like people just, it's almost like they're not used to hearing the word no. Yeah. Or it's weird. And then
like the negotiating thing too, like with talking to these dealerships.
Dude,
hey, this is my price. This is what I got to be at.
Yep.
And they're like, well, can you do this? No, this is my price. This is what I could be at. Like, I'm not trying to haggle or anything like that.
Yeah.
If you can make this price, then you can give me a call back. Yep. I appreciate it.
Yep. I agree.
You know, I'm respectful and nice and everything. I'm just like, hey, I don't want to do the back and forth where I send you a low number. You've been like, okay, can you then I did and all that stuff. Like, I'm good. I'm like, this is what I can do. If you can meet it, awesome. If you can't, that's fine. I understand. You got to make money. You got to do your deal, you know?
Well,
But
what's up, Victor? It's good to see you, dude.
what's up, Victor?
Um, yeah, man,
It's been a minute since I've been on here.
I know, right? Everyone, Joseph's back on the show. Yay!
Yeah. I'm back on the show, I co-host.
Yeah, yeah, he's back. Yay! I think we hang on. Don't I have like a?
Do you have an ISO? There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
Discord though. That's not.
That's my.
Spirit.
I know. Yeah. It's on my list. I promise. There's a lot going on. Silk Song and Delta Ruin new chapters. Speaking of video games, I've been playing this game Repo. Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about this for a minute, and then I want to do a couple of the top 100s before we get into our normal stuff for tonight. But yeah, dude, Justin and I talked about this last week a little bit. So Assassin's Creed Shadow came out a week ago, maybe 2 weeks now. I can't quite remember. And it has, well, depending on who you talk to, it's either a massive success or a massive flop. And so I'm just sort of like, so it just was kind of average and nobody's talking about it anymore. That's kind of what it is. We've had enough rants on the show about social media and the problems with it, and how like X is just, it's gotten to the point where like all it is engagement farming. Like you go on there and the entire goal is to either like piss someone off or just have like a bunch of people tell you you're wrong under your post. Because that's how like the engagement works, and I hate it. So, Assassin's Creed came out, and I watched a few streamers play it, and not that I was gonna get it. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game in years, and the franchise hasn't been all that interesting to me since all of the stuff with Ezio finished like years and years ago, back when they were still kind of trying, I don't know, or like Ubisoft was kind of at the peak of their we make the same game over and over again, but like we're actually putting effort into it, so people still kind of care. But the new one, as far as I can tell, it's like like graphically, like it looks all right. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's also not like that impressive. And then the gameplay just kind of looked boring to me. Like there wasn't anything about it that like quite caught my eye, And everyone's like saying, they're like, "Oh, we owned you," and then the people who disagree with them like, "No, we owned you," and I'm just sort of like, oh, okay. But it looks like that the game financially is going to underperform.
Assassin's Creed. I'm not.
Yeah, they haven't. They keep talking, and I don't know, man. It's like we've talked about this with all sorts of other topics before, but the wording is always really important. And they've been talking about number of players versus number of like units actually sold, because there's a couple different types of phrases that these companies will use. You have number of players, you have number of units shipped, and then the actual like numbers sold.
Right.
And there's disagreement about what that actually means. I tend to take it at face value though, because what else am I really supposed to do until someone's like, oh, they were lying, here's the evidence, and then here's what it actually was. Because then it's like, okay, cool, like, right. You're proven right, you're proven wrong. Like if you tell me players, that means players. That doesn't necessarily account to actual like financial sales, because there's all sorts of like workarounds to get the game cheaper, and it depends on the game. It's not just Assassin's Creed, right? Like if you have the Xbox Game Pass. You pay, I think it's like $20 a month now, and they put new games on there all the time, and so your sale is that like $20 for that month. It's not the $60-$70 for the game. So you can say, exactly. Yeah, so you can say player, but like I don't know what that actually means.
They're trying to finagle it to make it sound better than what it possibly is.
Yeah, and this happens a lot. One of the funniest ones to me was that a couple months ago, Remedy, who made Alan Wake 2, they said that the game finally broke even like over a year after it came out, and people were like celebrating, and I'm like, guys, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, that is bad.
That's bad.
I do find it funny though. You mentioned earlier regarding the drama around Assassin's Creed. And it is funny that like for the Japanese people, like they found the one guy that wasn't Japanese and made a game based off of it.
Yeah.
But all the drama surrounding it, dude, I'm just at this point in my life. I'm like, I just don't care. I mean, you know.
No, I'm interested in.
Like,
I love like the.
Probably talk about it some
Yeah.
tonight, but
it's more about the sales figures for me, and like the interesting like and it's some of it's like the potential like espionage, like that stuff always kind of interests me a little bit. But the people screaming at each other, the people screaming at each other about like the drama that kind of surrounds the stuff, I'm just sort of like, whatever.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
If you don't have a good argument
in my lifetime, I'm like, okay, well, good to know. I'm, you know, it's not something I would check out anyways. I watched the gameplay of it, and it's like, it's just not inspiring. But it doesn't have anything to do necessarily to do with the fact that they took, you know, the one black guy that ever visited Japan during that time period and made a game off of him instead of an Asian dude. It
is weird that they didn't go a traditional route with it when people had been asking since pretty sure the first Assassin's Creed or not too far after that for a game set in Japan, because it's like it's the obvious choice for a setting. And let's see, the
problem for me is like the games are just redundant, and it's like they just get a new skin update, but the mechanics don't get updated. Like,
well, they do
really gets updated.
They do, but it's tiny increments. Yeah, it's tiny increments. The same way that like Madden or Call of Duty, or it's like these little increments, and then they sell you another game. And this is kind of why for now, like or now to tell you like why I kind of bring this up, is because games are getting more expensive in sort of the AAA market. Friend of the show, Jake, was telling me... so Nintendo just did... Victor was asking about this, but Nintendo just did their Direct for the Switch 2. And it's... I can't remember if we've talked about it on the show or whatever, but like I was very much like 1080p, 60 frames... If it's possible to do that across the board with like Switch 1 games, like that would be awesome. Like get the frame rate up. I was like, I don't care about 4K. Like it means zero to me. Give me like a game that like runs really smooth. That's really what I need. That's all I want. Like that's the experience that I'm perfectly content with at this point. Like graphics, every month now, and people start talking about graphics for new games or whatever, and I'm like, I just don't care anymore. Like I don't care how pretty your game looks, to be honest. It's like it feels like it's plateaued, kind of like we were saying. I was like, is the gameplay fun, and how much of a dent in my wallet is this going to take? Like Joseph, no joke, at one point I legitimately thought about just like completely giving up gaming, because I was like, this just doesn't, none of this stuff that's coming out interests me that much. And
I pretty much have given up gaming. Well, I mean, the only thing I've been playing is Zelda with my keeper.
Here's the thing is that the audience, I think, wants something different. And for me, what I've now found is that I can go on Steam, I can buy a $10 to $15 game in early access or otherwise, a new game, and put 20, 30 hours into it. Some of it's like multiplayer. Like Lethal Company came out last year. I'm pretty sure I paid $10 for that game when it came out. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong about the price on that when it was originally released. And have a ton of fun with friends. I can stream it. I can do whatever. And I've spent the price, actually, sometimes in some cases less, the price of going to like Chick-fil-A or like Zaxby's or something, and getting tons of entertainment out of it, having a blast, you know, and it's a fraction of the price that I would pay for something like Assassin's Creed. This like overbloated multi-million-dollar production that ultimately you look at and you're like, yeah, this is kind of uninspired. Whereas like there's a game that just came out called Repo that's kind of got some similarities to Lethal Company, and then there's a couple other games that I've heard people talk about recently, stuff that I put on my wish list. All of it under $20 per game, except for maybe like one, but even that's not even $50. And
That's
so
that sweet spot.
yeah, dude, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, this makes more sense to me than the AAA space at this point. And so I'm thinking to myself, with exceptions, there are still some games that are going to have those higher price tags that I'm like, okay, I'm in for that. Like there's a certain amount of quality, and I'm willing to pay the higher price for that. But with anything that isn't in that tiny little like circle, I'm just like, I'm not into it. Like I would rather go play like a Lethal Company or something that someone's like, well, here's a game that I made. It's like $20, and here's the concept, and you're just like, holy crap, this seems like so much fun. It's so simple, but you can really pour some like time into it, and it scratches those itches to do different types of things in games.
Yeah.
And I don't get that from a lot of like the big studio stuff anymore. And it's funny because I feel like this is the same thing that I talked about last year with like movies and television, where I was like, well, maybe I just need to like look at old, and that's the thing, is like it's like old stuff or like indies.
Yeah.
And then the big over bloated budget blockbusters, you're just like, this is just slop.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like
missed and hit lately.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, and I bring, all of this to say, it's like, we've kind of said it before, but like these industries and like their inflated budgets and the constantly having to go like bigger and bigger and bigger with this stuff. And it kind of gets into some of the stuff we'll talk about later, but like it's just, it's not going to work in the long run. There's no way that it can, because I just don't think that they can hold the viewership, you're going to get some of that normie audience, but I don't think that's enough. Like I think that you really need like some of that like hardcore fan base for things in order for your thing to survive. And a lot of it is moving, and I've seen a lot of stuff recently.
Well, killed it off more so than it moved. They're just killing it off. It's the same thing with movies and TV shows, dude. There's really not. It's only because of if we didn't have the podcast, there's not many things I would watch.
I would not be watching a lot of the new stuff that I've seen. There will be some exceptions, but dude, I watched like Psycho the other night. That movie is excellent. It's like 1957, I think. I might be slightly off on my date for that. It's wonderful, and I can sit at home and watch it. It doesn't have like bloated CGI. The story's great. It has like I don't know if you know what happens in it, but there's like a pretty like great twist in it. A couple of them actually. And it's very, I love the way that it's filmed. All black and white, like, and I realized like, man, this is the stuff that I like way more. Like I'm perfectly happy. There's a huge, and I thought about this too. It's like there's a huge catalog, like back catalog of games that I've never played from like older generations. And I'm like, well, maybe it's just time to like do that instead. Like try to do this like more budget friendly stuff. I mean, like money's tight, like I'm not like independently wealthy. And I'm like some of these hobbies, especially like with brand new stuff, it's getting like way too expensive, and like the return on that isn't there for me.
It's decreasing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
with me as well,
dude. And so I just I talked to Jake about it. I talked to Justin about it. And I think it's kind of that agreement. It's like, man, if you're going to ask me to pay like $70+ for that thing, dude, it better be worth it. Yeah, it better be worth my time. Whereas like if I spend $10 and I play something for like 10 hours, and then I'm like, it was all right, I'm kind of done with that, I can kind of move on and try something else.
Because only out $5 or $10, but being out $70 and being like, oh, this game was terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just had that happen to me too many times to continue those kinds of investments.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly. I don't buy any new games. Heck, I mean, when we were
Yeah.
car shopping this past Saturday, and we went by Target. My wife wanted to get the new Hogwarts Legacy game for I say new, but
Right. It's
the
been
most
2
recent
years.
Hogwarts Legacy game for the Nintendo Switch, and it was still priced like at $60-$70 at Target. And
That's
I was like, no,
crazy.
we're not paying that. And she's like, why? I'm like, it's 2 years old.
There's no reason for that. Everybody's played it already. Like, yeah.
I'm like, no, and I got it on my PC. You'll learn to play it on PC.
Yeah, you can plug a controller in. It'll be fine. So yeah, man, that's rant 1 of 2 possibly. There's one more that I've got for later. But I do. We have
your list that we got to talk about.
Yes. It has gotten bigger. I'm about 75% of the way to 100.
Nice. We're just gonna do one this time, or
let's at least do 2. We'll do at least 2 per. That'll keep us going for a while.
Did you keep up with the numbers? I guess last time.
I don't remember. I
think if I remember correctly, it was 1, and then 2 and 3 were the same as basically 1, and because of the trilogy.
Let's see here.
And then I guess 7, and then 14. I want to say
7 and did we do 4? We didn't do 14. We haven't talked about 14 yet. Let's see here.
Okay, let me go. That's my guess. 14.
Let me go in here because I was writing them down. I did talk with Justin about a couple of these last week, but I did not leave a note for them. But I think we did this one. Pretty sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, that list. I got to eventually start on that.
All right. I know I need to finish it because I've got so many people to send this to. And for those of you that are new or don't remember, I've put essentially what I would consider my list of movies for your normie friend to start watching movies. If they've never seen anything, if all they've ever seen is Marvel movies, the list is an attempt to get them into some classics, some culturally relevant, or stuff that if you're watching other content, this stuff probably is getting referenced a lot and you may never know it. That's at least some of the goal, and then some of it's just personal bias. So but I think it's a good launch pad for anyone kind of looking to really get into it. All right, Joseph. Let's see. So I'm at, what's the last number I did? I'm at 72 total right now.
Nice.
So I've actually started putting in some sequels because it's okay, we're at the point now where some of these, it's going to be better if you watch the first and the second, or maybe the whole trilogy. So those are in here now. They're not ordered quite like I'd like them to, but I'm having a hard time because it's not my top 100 necessarily, though I would say it's probably going to be pretty darn close by the time I'm done. There would be some changes here and there, just because of stuff that I like that I wouldn't necessarily consider to be friendly to your average moviegoer,
Right.
Okay, so give me a number between 1 and 72.
14.
14 is let's see how I was trying to find a good way to describe this. I don't know if this is my personal favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, but I would say if you're going to show someone a Quentin Tarantino movie for the first time, Inglourious Basterds is the movie that you show them.
Oh, yeah.
Kill Bill Volume 1 is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Some of it's nostalgia because it was the first one I ever saw. It also, it's inspired obviously by a lot of Japanese cinema. And I think it's 1 and 2, because it's technically supposed to be one movie. But I think Kill Bill Volume 1 is brilliant. And it actually may end up on this list. But when I was thinking it through, Inglourious Basterds was the movie that when that came out, the theater, you could not get into a screening on opening night. It was absolutely packed. All the tickets were sold out. I can't remember if I actually ended up getting in on opening night or if me and some of my friends had to wait until like the next day to go see it.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, it was incredibly popular at the time. I mean, I honestly don't know if it's his most successful movie. But
you think it's his best movie?
I think it's the one that if you're showing someone, like, because like I was telling you, like, a lot of this is like, okay, if I'm going to pick a movie from a director that is considered to be one of the best, or had a time period in which they were the best, what movie would I show them from that catalog? And that's the one that I thought was the most friendly. And part of the reason I didn't pick Kill Bill, or I haven't put it on there yet, is because I think Volume 2 is a little bit of because it's a bit of a slow burn. Because it's like the second half of that. It's got some action in it, but not like the first part.
Right.
And so I think it would be a little bit harder for someone to really dive into those two, because you have to watch them together. You can watch part one, but it ends on a cliffhanger, and so you have to see part two to see how the story ends. Whereas Inglourious Basterds, it's 2.5 hours and you're done, and the pacing is excellent. Christoph Waltz, oh man, it's tough because Christoph Waltz is incredible in that. Tarantino is so good about getting the best out of everyone he puts in his movies. There's something very special about the way that he does things that people have attempted to imitate, but no one has been able to do it the way that he does it. His stuff is very distinct to him. Not everybody likes it. There's a great video of him getting interviewed by this woman, and she asks him something like, why are your movies like so violent or something? And she goes, because it's fun, Karen, or something like that. It's pretty good, but and he's an acquired taste as a person. Like I don't think he and I would get along very well in real life, but like I think he's inspired a lot of people in that industry. I think he is one of the best out there, and he that's the one that I would pick. I mean, like, Brad Pitt's brilliant in it. The story's really good. It's a bit of an alternate history thing that he's doing, which is what he kind of did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. And I just I do adore that movie as well. Like, I think Inglourious Basterds is great. It's got, dude, actually, it's making me want to watch it again because it's been a little while since I've seen it. So that might end up happening. Every time we talk about these, I'm like, maybe it's time to finally watch that again, So I've been going through this list a little bit too, just to kind of get some refreshers on some of these, that I, if it's been a couple of years since I've seen it or a little longer than that. But yeah, so that's number 14. Excellent movie. It's the one that I would definitely recommend, with the caveat that like it's violent.
Right.
I showed this girl. This is before we met. The movie had probably been out for 6 months or whatever, and I got it on Blu-ray. I had some people over, and this girl that I liked at the time, and like we all watched it, and she was like disgusted by it, and I was like, it was kind of funny. I was like, oh yeah, it's probably a little too much. So it's not for everybody. But yeah, it's really good. All right, give me another number.
All right, let's do 31.
31. What is 31? Oh, okay. So 31 is one of. Hang on, let me check real quick. Don't want to give you the wrong. Got to be accurate. Let's see. So I know that's on there. So 1, 2. I don't think that counts. 3, but that one doesn't fully count either. Okay. To be generous, it's one of 3 movies that are on the list that would be considered a quote unquote comic book movie. And of the 3, it's probably the one that is the most recognizable, and that is a movie that came out in 1998 starring Wesley Snipes, which is the original Blade.
Yeah.
And that's on here because I like that movie, and also because it is sort of the progenitor of the comic book movie to some degree. Like that was, there's been stuff that came before it, but none of it was what like Blade did for that,
Right.
And it's also kind of one of those movies that's like, how there's this weird narrative that goes around about like, it's because of the movie failed because people are racist because they don't want to go see a movie with like a black main character or whatever, and it's like, but Blade, it's like literally everything Denzel Washington has ever done, and also Blade. So yeah, I think Blade's great. I think Wesley Snipes was kind of like born to play that role. And
did it save Marvel from going bankrupt too?
No, well, no, they were still having problems because they sold off the rights to Spider-Man during this time period too. I'm pretty sure. My dates might be
Sony.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Sony, that movie division probably wouldn't exist anymore if it wasn't for Spider-Man. But yeah,
down.
It's not, Blade is not the best movie you'll ever see, and it's not the worst movie you'll ever see. But there's a lot. It's cool. It's a lot of fun, and
it is a lot of fun.
Wesley Snipes is just like kind of iconic as that character.
Oh yeah.
I can recommend the second.
Only one.
Yeah, I can recommend the second one, and not so much the third one. Yeah, it's like there's only going to be one Blade, and it's like it's starting to look like that might be true.
Right.
Yeah, maybe give it like 10 years, and maybe they'll somebody will get their act together with that. But Blade is a recommend. I think sometimes it's like, with all these new Marvel movies, I always wonder if people actually consider going back to like watching the old stuff.
Right.
But I just don't know because I never hear anybody talking about it anymore. All right, one more. Let's do one more because I love doing this. This is so much fun. Give me one more.
47.
47. What is 47? So 47 is a little bit, I think, it's on here because it has to be on here. I don't think that if you're trying to get someone into movies, you can not recommend this as a movie. It is probably the quintessential gangster film. Probably. And that is The Godfather Part 1.
Oh, okay. Yep.
If I'm going to show you a movie, if it's going to be, in that kind of genre, it's got to be The Godfather. Now, the biggest obstacles, and again, this is about like normie moviegoers, like people who don't like sit and really enjoy like the dialogue, and they're like, man, 3 hours is like way too long for me to be watching a movie, because we're in kind of that real like shorts, that stuff is what's dominating right now. The Godfather has a bit of a barrier because it's a bit of a slow burn, but that's because that's how they do the setups and payoffs. Like that's how movies work. That's how your stories work. It's not about just like in your face action all the time, which is going to be tough for people. But it's one of those movies that I think that given the chance, people will sit down. Like if you can actually sit down and it's like, just do it. Like challenge yourself to just sit down, watch the movie, and do your best to pay attention to it. I think it's a movie that like people will really enjoy. It's really well acted. It's dramatic. It's lots of like it's got some really good like iconic moments in it. Right. So I just think that like you can't make a list like this and just like not put The Godfather on here. Is it the easiest to get into? That's tough because I think a lot of these kinds of movies are slow burns in general. Because I mean, like even The Departed, man. I mean, that's a pretty slow burn, and The build up and the payoffs and a lot of that really don't happen until, man, maybe the last 30 minutes of that. It's just like builds and builds and builds and builds. And then the last like 20, 30 minutes of The Departed is very much like a crescendo into the end, which I haven't seen in a while. I may have to go back and watch that. But yeah, I think if I'm going to pick one, it's got to be The Godfather of all of them. And I was telling Justin this last week, I watched Goodfellas for the first time a couple weeks ago. Because it's just, I was telling you, it's like I've got like a list of movies that's like, people, these are the kinds of movies people talk about, and Goodfellas was just on that list of like, I just, for whatever reason, have never seen this movie. So yeah. But yeah, Godfather is the other one. So that's 3 more on the list.
Nice, dude. That's a good list you got going on. You have to share it with me eventually.
Oh yeah, I will.
I'm gonna be like, you won't believe this new. I'll tell my wife, you won't believe this new list I found that just came out. That was just released of the top, 100 movies to watch. We should watch all these.
Bro, it's a good list. I think you'd have. There's a couple of them on here you probably wouldn't much care for, but I think overall,
all the horror ones.
Yeah, and there's not many. I've got.
Don't lie to me, David.
There's not. I've got one.
It's only 50 out of 100.
1, 2. You've seen those, so I know you're fine with those. 3. Three, I think.
Nice.
4. Sorry. So there's 4 plus. There's 2 on here. Well, one of them I don't know if I would really consider horror, and the other one you've seen and I know you like. So I'm not going to count that.
Right.
And then there's one of the other horror movies on here that I feel like you probably watch and enjoy, because it's a classic, but I'm not going to talk about it till we get to it. And man, there's some like good comedies on here too. We talked, Justin and I talked about Hot Fuzz last week.
Ooh, nice.
And
that's such a good one.
What was the other one we talked about? I forgot.
Great movie.
I should have made notes. It might have been Dread. I either just spoiled that or he and I talked about it. I don't remember. But I watched Dread again recently, and I love that movie. It's wonderful, and I wish it had gotten a sequel or a television spinoff. And it's unfortunate because I don't think we're ever going to get anything from it.
It is unfortunate because that was.
Dang, man,
so good, dude.
Okay, and so far Tarantino actually has 2 movies on here, so it's probably about to be a little bit more than that because some of that's probably personal bias. And then I need to. Okay, sorry. Anyway, there's a lot to. Dude, I could sit and talk about this forever. It's just I find this stuff super interesting, and it's always like, okay, what would other people do in this situation? Like, what would they do for their like top 100? I think it'd be really interesting. And I made a effort to not put like modern Marvel or DC on there. Even like Christopher Nolan DC. I was like, as I love those. I love the first 2. But I was like, no, like I want the list to be as far away from sort of the modern like comic book stuff as possible, which is why Blade made the list. And the earliest, there is a comic book movie on here from 2015, but I don't think a lot of people know it's a comic book movie. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. And then there's one that's older than that I also don't think people know is based off comics necessarily. So, yeah, it's cool. And one of them I just put on here recently that's a little older than Blade. That's the other comic book movie that I just got the Blu-ray for because it's one of my favorite movies. It might actually end up higher on this list too. I need to watch it soon. All right, so we've got we'll probably go for another 20 minutes or so. So let's talk about some news type stuff, Joseph. Do you want to? Why don't we go ahead and talk about the Lord of the Rings news, because we definitely have to get that out of the way. And I'm going to let you sort of lead on that because I feel like you've paid attention. I've been paying attention to it, but I feel like you've probably been paying attention to it a little bit more than I have.
So basically, to sum it up, we don't have to read the article, but Basically, there's Jennifer
I
Salky.
call her
We'll go
Sulky,
with
but
Salky.
yeah.
That's my preferred pronunciation. Um, but she has stepped down and or been fired. Um, and she was the Amazon studio head. She was over Rings of Power, well, everything in Amazon. But she's been allegedly she has stepped down to take on a producing role, but more than allegedly also been fired due to Rings of Power and everything that happened with James Bond and the route she wanted to take with that. Trump got in there and said, "No, we're not going to do this like this anymore."
And
Once he got elected,
everyone else was like, "Oh, I guess we can't do this stuff anymore." It is weird.
it really is.
It's so
weird,
strange that like him getting into office seemingly because it was such a quick turnaround for some of this stuff. Now it's not everything, obviously. Like I would say a lot of it is either just like on the back burner or some of these companies are being a lot more quiet about this stuff.
right?
But yeah, it is very interesting that that's the case, and hopefully some of them are learning their lessons about what people are interested in, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But there's a show that is on 3 seasons now that I think is very good.
Yeah. But the problem is like the amount of money they spent for the Rings of Power. It's bomb. They're not. That's the whole reason why you got to pay for ads and everything now.
Oh yeah, it's what I love to tell people. I've had that conversation with multiple people at this point. I'm like, yeah, you know how you have to have isn't it? You know how it's like weird that they put ads on Amazon, and they're like, yeah. I was like, well, there's technically 2 shows that you have to thank for it, but Rings of Power is definitely one of them. And then the name of that other show that I only watched the first episode of because
The Citadel?
The Citadel, which was another massive production.
It was expensive. It was the second most at the time. I don't know if it still is the case, but at the time it was the second most expensive production behind the Rings of Power, and it bombed as well. I mean, it wasn't that good. And then you got Wheel of Time, and let me just
Wheel of Time's definitely expensive too.
It picks up exactly where it left off in season 2.
I don't even
consistently terrible.
I didn't even get through season 2. I don't know if you remember, but I gave up.
Yeah. They definitely try to pull you in that first episode with spoilers for season 3, episode 1, by the way, of Wheel of Time. So if you don't want to hear spoilers for Wheel of Time, episode 3 or episode 1, excuse me, then I don't know what.
Nobody's watching it, dude. Nobody's watching literally and we'll talk about Reacher in a minute. But every time the episode of Reacher would end, there would be about a 5-second period during the credits, 5 seconds, dude. So sometimes you're not even paying attention, and it would automatically boot up Wheel of Time season 3 because they're trying to pump their numbers up.
They are trying to pump the numbers up, and dude, they have this major fight scene. I'm talking about pretty major for what I've seen in Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, just the fight scene isn't even it's all right. It's not all of it isn't bad, but there's specific instances just why did you go this route? I could definitely see that with season 3. I don't know if they're trying to get more retention, but it's just even it's the same complaints that we've had of just even the costume design, how they shoot at certain scenes, certain angles they choose to take, which make the actors look weird.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. I mean,
not actually paying attention to the lore. I saw technically Mexico.
Yeah, obviously that's the main thing, but then also too, it's just every single one of these shows, Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, The Witcher, they all name Star Wars shows. They all look the same cosmetically.
Yeah, I forgive me, technically Mexican, because I didn't actually watch your short, but he was saying that they finally adapted something from the books properly. What's up, Momo? What's up, dude? Justin over here already missing us. And it was just one of those things. It's dude, it's season 3. Obviously, and I know technically knows this, but man, it's too little, too late. It's the same with Rings of Power.
That's what people are saying is I wonder if Salky's been fired to fix the Rings of Power and then also not have James Bond creator Because the owner of James Bond, old Broccoli, I know that's not how you pronounce her name, but
I
I'm
think it's funny
definitely
though.
pronouncing her name that way.
On this show,
I mean, she
it's
has $1 billion.
broccoli.
She doesn't care. She's like,
Yeah.
anybody can call me whatever they want to.
Yep.
So she wanted to, Jennifer wanted to allegedly steer James Bond in the same direction of Rings of Power and these other shows where it's female centric and this massive universe and everything.
So stupid, dude.
And it's just like at this point with Rings of Power, like yes, James Bond can be saved, but how would they even save Rings of Power? What can you do? It's already been destroyed. Your best option would be to can it and just completely start over.
Yeah, and that's so much money.
Get new people involved and green light the new Conan show that was supposed to be.
Do it, cowards! Give us Conan, and now that The Boys is ending, give us Dredd, please. Sign him up, put him back in the helmet, and give us like a probably a little more than Reacher's budget, but like a good budget that's not going nuts, and give us like 5 good seasons of Dredd.
Yeah, this will probably
it would literally print freaking money. I mean, sorry, yeah. I'm going to get into it. Let's get through that and then I'll rant a little bit about this stuff because it's ridiculous, dude.
But with her stepping down or being fired or whatever happened, her no longer being with the company, depending on who they put in, which allegedly should be Pascal and Heyman, whoever they are. Whoever they put in as the head for Amazon, as long as it's not someone who's a mirror clone of Jennifer, that care about lore and is familiar with allowing artists to have a creative license. I think a limited one when it comes to things that you're, buying the IP rights to.
Yeah,
I will always stand by that and be more on that line of things than having a massive creative liberty, but then it could potentially, help Amazon. But I mean, another show that's going to be dead on arrival though, because of just the leadership at the top, is allegedly Meryl Streep's been offered.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
Aslan and Chronicles.
Man, we knew from the beginning Greta Gerwig was not the right person for that.
Man, when I think about Narnia, I go to 2 things, David. I go to rock and roll, and when I think about Narnia and rock and roll together, my next thought is Meryl Streep.
Yeah, when I think about Aslan and who should play Aslan, it's definitely Meryl Streep.
Like, I hope this isn't true, but part of me
now
hopes that it is true.
Me
like,
too.
Could you just imagine you go to watch Narnia and Aslan starts speaking and it's Meryl freaking Streep, but they lower her voice to make it sound what is it called when you do that?
The mixing. You mix her
mixing,
voice. Yeah. I mean, they could do that, but that's goofy. And don't get me wrong, when you're talking about voice acting, I don't really care if they have like a woman in the role for like a male character, if it makes sense. Like Bart Simpson is a woman. Like that's the voice, the voice. But
not when it's defined.
She also,
like this is.
Yeah, she also doesn't just talk like herself. Like there's actually something to make that character. It's the same way the English actor for Ash Ketchum from Pokemon is a woman too, or was. Actually, she might still be alive. But it happens all the time. The problem is that we're talking about Aslan, who is very masculine, like literally is a representation of Jesus. Like it's you're going for something in that, and Meryl Streep isn't that at all. It's literally the same problem. It's the same problem, but in a different way with this casting for Severus Snape in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
it's just blatantly wrong casting, and you look at it and it's just like, are you just trying to piss people off? Is that what y'all are doing at this point? Now obviously I think for the show you and I are gonna watch this thing when it comes out, because sometimes watching a train wreck is incredibly entertaining, but I can't imagine that they're gonna do this thing any kind of justice. And Yeah, it's another thing they're going to probably sink millions of dollars into, and I imagine the return on it is not going to be what they want it to be because it's just...
It makes you wonder how Netflix and these companies are still even operating, man. It has to be USA that's funneling money to them.
Bro, yeah. So Victor...
It's gotta be. That's you know how you thought, like, it's definitely money laundering. It's got to be USA that's been funneling money to these companies for these atrocious decisions that have been going on. Where companies are just like, you know what? I just wanted to lose hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. And because find these decisions
and killed the industry. I'm sorry,
and
killed the industry. So this is the thing that's going to happen is like you and me.
Bro, maybe I can buy up the rights to something. I would love to.
Me, you like films, so we're like the hardcore film
guys. Donate,
fans, right?
Donate to our channel so I can buy the rights to Dread. Let me just buy out the rights to Dread.
And what's going to happen, and what has already happened, is, and that's why you see in theater suffer, is that people aren't going to go to the cinema. Then they're going to stop watching stuff on streaming. I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at, and I'm just more so in tune to watching older movies now, and TV shows and everything like that. And then here and there, I'll watch something rarely. That's new. I mean, mainly just because of this show. I watch it more frequently because of our podcast. But
I feel like you and I will each attempt to watch new things. This is kind of how I do it. Is like every once in a while I'll watch something new, and then I will just bother everyone that I know until they finally start watching it, so I have people to talk to about it. Literally, I finished season 3 of Reacher, and I text you, I text Justin. And I've been like talking to people at work about it, and I'm like, you guys need to watch this, please. Like, I don't know what y'all are doing.
I do need to watch that instead of Wheel of Time, that's for sure. But the problem for me is that I'll have to start from season 1 and watch all the way through.
I know. I don't think it'll be a problem for you. I think if you're into it, you'll be done quick.
Yeah.
Because sorry, we'll get into that. Sorry, I'm revved up for it, but we'll wait.
You're fine. I'm just gonna close out with this on this topic, which is layer by layer. You lose and kill your audience, and eventually that audience won't return. It's going to take a lot longer time frame to get your return on investment, to get that audience retention back, and to build that back. Disney's going to learn it and stuff. I mean, it's just I don't even care whatever Disney announces, whatever
Daredevil's
Marvel movies they announce. I just don't care.
Daredevil's a perfect example of that. Justin was actually asking me this yesterday. He's like, have you watched the new episodes? I was like, no. I was like, it's really been hard for me to actually want to sit down and watch it because I'm just not into it. He likes it a little more than I do. I just every time I'm like, dude, I have never seen so much filler in a 12 episode season. There's like
you can't take your audience for granted, man. That's what it comes down to.
Punisher, so far from what I've seen before these new episodes came out, because there's like 3 episodes I got to catch up on now. John Bernthal has been in it up until these 3 episodes that have now been out since I caught up the last time. He's great. That dude is an actor. Like he needs like good writing so that you can just let the guy cook, because he's an excellent actor. He's very good in those kinds of roles, and him and Charlie Cox, when they're like playing off of each other, like even like average dialogue, the two of them can take it and really just they play well off of each other. It's probably one of the only things I've seen in the show that I've been very invested in, and I think it's a total of 2 minutes of screen time, maybe a tiny bit more. And Justin said he's not in episode 5 or 6. Victor was saying, what about Elric? Guys, our stance on this stuff at this point, and this is where I was going to kind of play off what you were talking about. Your audience for Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Conan, even something like Elric, Witcher, it's the same people. Now, it may not be 100% crossover in what they read, but if you're going to adapt Lord of the Rings, the people who are fans of Wheel of Time are probably going to watch a Lord of the Rings show, and they're probably going to watch Conan, and they're probably going to watch Witcher. And so we're at the point now where you can't keep making these garbage fantasy shows, these shows that are costing like so much money that look terrible. They're poorly written. They're trying to do all of this stuff that has nothing to do with the original source material. And people are just like, nah, I'm good. I'll pass.
Yep.
Narnia, of course. Like, this is coming out, and there's so many people that they're just going to be like, nah, none of this stuff has been good recently. I'm not going back for that.
Yep.
And then
they want to release Narnia in
theaters.
First,
You know,
not good.
Ugh.
Especially if if there's specific casting for it.
Yeah, I can't wait to get the rest of the casting, bro. I can't wait.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, brother. Also, Momo Gators, Justin, he said that Fran Drescher should play Aslan, which I think is hilarious. That would have been better. That would have been better casting than Meryl Streep, mostly for the meme factor. But yeah, it should have been her instead. So all of this to say, and I'm going to keep this rant kind of short because I want to try to get to just these last two little topics before we close out. All of that to say, Reacher having the budget of, I mean, dude, a fraction of the budget, right? Maybe a tenth of the budget of Rings of Power, is dominating Amazon's charts. It's better, like, it's got better retention and like return rates than The Boys, than obviously Rings of Power. There was another show, I think it's beat out Invincible, and we say this a lot. Now, Reacher is not groundbreaking in any way, but
nope.
I think people need to understand that it doesn't matter. Like,
no, you need to understand, David.
And I told you this, and I think I've talked to a couple other people about this. Reacher, and especially season 3. But what I love about it is it's essentially like a modern Western. Like, he's a, you know, he's a wanderer, and he wanders into town, and he gets caught up with these like bad guys, or these people that want to do horrible things to other people, and he solves the problem in a lot of like violent ways, but like it really is like the good guy taking on the big bad guy. And I don't want to spoil anything from season 3, but there's a conversation that happens at the very end of it, and it's all so simple, but it just hits home for me. And I love watching it, like the build-ups and the payoffs, and you know, there's like like the big thing from season 3, and this isn't really spoiling anything, is that like one of the big bads in season 3 is a guy that's like even bigger than Reacher is. Like, Alan Rickman's like a big dude. And
yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah, and it is, dude, I'm telling you, the payoff is wonderful. And it's got like a sense of humor in the way that it does stuff. Like, it's not outright, like, it's not Marvel humor, right? It's kind of situational, and the way that like Reacher reacts in situations, and so that whole thing with and dude, I don't understand. And obviously, like, I can't remember if you and I talked about it, or if this is something that's kind of been making the rounds. Like, Jennifer Sulke has had very little oversight on that show, and it shows.
The way it should be,
because it's good. And season 2 is my least favorite. They try to do too much. There's too many characters. I still think for the most part the story works. There's just some kind of like goofy stuff with some of the action in it. But I still think overall, like, the acting carries it. There's a lot of interesting characters, like people that you can kind of like attach to, especially in season 1 and 3. And it doesn't really waste your time, and it just does like classic like that's what Reacher is. It's classic television. You know, it's not trying too hard to be something. It's from what I've heard, it's very respectful to the source material, and it's, you know, relatively easy to adapt. And we've talked about this before, and I feel like I say it all the time now, but it's like, you've got your script already. You just have to adapt it. You don't need to do all of these changes. You don't need people already love the thing that exists. Make that, and you'll build a bigger audience, because you'll get the fans. You'll get the people who are already like, they've read the books, they love this stuff. They're gonna watch it when you put it out, and so like respect that, and like other people are gonna come around to it.
Yep.
Because it's gonna reach a wider audience now.
Respect the source material.
Yeah. So dude, and I need more, because this is kind of similar to like the Dredd situation, though I haven't read I actually, watching it again has made me want to pick up some of the comics. But it's sort of got a similar thing. It's a very simple premise. And the Raid is kind of a similar movie in that they're both guys trapped in buildings needing to escape. And I love it. It's a great genre. I want more of that, and more so even with the Raid, it's like, it's a very human story about a guy who is caught up in this situation that's like bigger than he is, and he has to find a way to fight his way out. And there's like this evil that he ultimately has to overcome, and it's very like classic storytelling. And for me, and like I've been trying to like write a little bit more, and man, Reacher just kind of like hit that button for me, man, to just be like, all right, like I'm kind of inspired again to like, it's not everything out there is bad. And I know a lot of people aren't watching it because Alan Richman has said a lot of like stupid things, or a lot of things that people who are more right-leaning didn't really like. But the
hoops amongst us haven't.
I know. And also, a good show is a good show, man. Like, I get it, and I respect that. And if people decide they don't want to watch it because of that, absolutely, that is your decision to make. But like I said, a good show is a good show. I've watched plenty of stuff with people in it who said stupid things that I disagree with, and the stuff's still good. You know what I mean? Like, I still love the original trilogy, even though Mark Hamill is an idiot. It's like, So yeah, man, I hope. I don't think I'm going to be totally correct in this, but I hope that some of these companies are learning their lessons, and that even though it's going to take some time, there's going to be some turnaround.
Yeah.
That there's people that are going to look at it, because honestly, man, like Reacher is basically James Bond. He's just a more like everyman James Bond,
Right.
And it's cool, man. And like I said, it doesn't take much, because it's not like a complicated show at all. There's just like a pretty simple like either like mystery to solve or whatever the case may be. So he's also only 42. That's crazy. Yeah, he really needs to play Batman. Obviously, he's not going to be able to play a young Batman, but neither is Robert Pattinson at this point. So Richmond's got the build for it, man. He freaking looks like he could be Batman. And so I maybe so Superman's not going to do well, and they could just fast track. I don't know. It's weird timing. Like, all that stuff, man, is so crazy at this point. I don't know what's going on in the comic book world. It's just not worth trying to hope for any actual good casting anymore.
Yeah.
All right. So 2 more things before we go. Let's start with this one will be a little bit quicker, so we'll start with this one. So it came out this week that Neil Druckmann, who is one of the creators of The Last of Us, he gets a lot more credit than I think a lot of us believe he deserves for that series, at least for the first game, the one that people like.
Right.
And he came out and has admitted that Joel did the right thing by saving Ellie in the first game. Now, this is interesting news, and no, I don't know if it's being reported on, but the internet doesn't forget, and sometimes neither do I. There is an interview with a guy who I've brought up occasionally. His name's Colin Moriarty. He used to work for IGN back when people made less fun of IGN because they tried a little bit harder back in the day. Colin's gone on to like do his own thing. That's a topic for another time. But he and Druckmann are mutuals to some degree. They travel in some similar circles in that industry, obviously. And he interviewed him at one point, and Colin was like on record about how he was in disagreement with Druckmann about what happened with the interpretation of the end. And that Druckmann used to be on record saying that you're not supposed to interpret it as Joel doing the right thing at the end. You're supposed to see him as the villain, and that's what's supposed to line up with the second game, and why like you're not supposed to see Joel as like basically the hero, right? Which the term hero has definitionally like there's some wiggle room in there for things. Like sometimes you're just talking about it's your main character. It's not necessarily the heroic actions that the character takes. But I don't think Joel 100% falls in that. I think he's a very complicated character who lives in a very messed up world and did the thing that he thought was best. And there's a stronger argument for him doing the right thing, and that Ellie allegedly sacrificing herself for the greater good would have done absolutely nothing, and more than likely would have been a political trump card if hypothetically it worked and she had the cure. It would have been used as a political ramrod for the Fireflies to basically gain a ton of power in that world, and would not have been for the greater good of everyone. Right. And then there's also a really strong argument that they couldn't have even created a cure for a number of different reasons. Technology, available resources. There's one other one that's slipping my mind right now. I think I might have made a note about it, but there's something you find at the end of the game that talks about how it probably wouldn't have even been possible to, I think, create a cure off of that. Like there was no like guarantee. And so ultimately, like with all the information that like Joel had, he made the correct decision in doing that. So he's not only like justified in what he did, he's probably correct in what he did.
Yeah.
And that like the Fireflies, dude, they're not good people. Like it's a weird thing, and you never see anybody like really try to argue that. They try to do it in the second game a little bit. Like they really try to like rework things as they're kind of these like the underdog resistance, but that's not really the case. Like they're kind of just terrorists. And it's like, like you guys aren't winning this argument. Like I don't know if you understand like the game that you wrote, and then like there's a lot of people that I'm like, I don't know if y'all like really were paying attention to this. And after some conversations that I've had with people about Lord of the Rings recently, that has become more of a thing for me, where I'm like, I don't think people are paying attention to this stuff.
Right.
Like I think they're seeing some of it, they're seeing the big moments, and they're making assumptions based on that. When in reality, you're like, well, do you remember this? And they're just like, no. And you're like, okay, your argument falls apart because of this specific thing,
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about. We might talk about that conversation that I had with a coworker next week because I think it's so funny, dude.
That's too funny.
But yeah, so he did that, and then let's go. John Boyega is sitting right in the middle of our the banner that I made for this week, the thumbnail. Oh man, bye Justin. We'll have you on soon so we can talk about Daredevil, and you and Joseph can catch up. And
if you're lucky,
yeah, we got speaking of season 2 of Last of
we got
Us,
so many people.
It's not far away.
Reaching out to us, Justin, that want to be on the show. So if we can fit you in, we'll try to.
Oh yeah, dude. Our busy schedule. So just pretty quickly, I thought this was interesting because Boyega clearly. I don't know what is going on. I feel like, because I haven't seen him in a whole lot recently, he probably torpedoed his career at some point. and I'm not 100% sure what did it. Someone in the troll room or someone out there might.
Both him and Daisy Ridley. Huh?
Well, that poor girl. I don't know if all of that is really her fault completely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's some stuff that's come out about
agree.
that. There's some stuff that has come out about that like I think they put her in that position and hyped her up in a way that like was probably unfair to her in the long run. But it's coming from Variety. It says John Boyega calls out Star Wars fans for being okay with black actors playing the best friend but not the lead hero. That alone tells you that he hasn't been paying attention, because I don't know most people that if you tell them like, yeah, in a better written script, something that worked better, Finn would have been the main character of the sequel trilogy. He was the more interesting character. There was a lot more potential for some really good, like a really good arc for him and a redemption story. Going basically the idea being that you went from like this nobody stormtrooper to becoming like a Jedi.
Right.
Could have been cool, man. I think that one of the biggest things that when everybody looks back on it now, they're like, there was potential in there, and it was just squandered because it's Disney. And we all know better now. Like, Disney they squander, and they're not the only ones at this point. It's just become a trend, right? It's like everyone absolutely they fumbled the ball on so much stuff. But he says, let me tell you, Star Wars always had the vibe of being in the most white elite space, which I don't even know what that means, man. I don't know if you've seen the videos. I don't know if you've seen the videos from the opening night of Return of the Jedi. Quite diverse. There's some like videos of like those like original screenings, and it's quite diverse. Anyway, he goes on to say, it's a franchise that's so white that a black person existing in it was something. I don't know what that means. Wait, space. It's a franchise that's so white that a black person existing in it was something. Oh, I guess he means like it's incredible, even though there was a black actor in the original series too. It's not like it wasn't a surprise to anybody. I don't know what he's talking about. You can always tell it's something when some Star Wars fans try to say, well, we had Lando. Oh, whoops. I guess I fell into the trap. And Samuel L. Jackson. So like, what's his problem? It's like telling me how cookie chips are in the cookie dough. It's like they just scattered that in there, bro. Dude, does it sound like he is like kind of undermining Samuel L. Jackson here?
Maybe a little.
Because he's saying,
even if that's not his intention,
it sounds like he's dismissing Samuel L. Jackson, which you remember when we were talking a while back about how this was when we were talking about Millie Bobby Brown back when that Damsel movie came out, and how a lot of people were coming out talking about how this like new generation of actors just has like no respect and has no understanding of like the cultural impact of the industry that they work in, and the films in this case that are like Samuel L. Jackson is a staple of that, dude. The dude is, I saw something recently that said that he basically refuses to do more than 3 takes. Like, they asked him about it in this interview, and he's like, is it true? I can't remember if he said it was 2 or 3. I'll say 3 because that sounds right. But someone asked him, they're like, is that true? And he's like, honestly, he's like, I've been doing this for so long, because he's a seasoned actor at this point. And he goes,
he is.
I've been doing this for so long that if you need more than 3 takes, it's a problem with your end of things, not with me. Like, you're either not directing me correctly, or there's a misunderstanding in what we're supposed to be doing here. I'm telling you, it's not me, and I think it's true.
People to the standard.
Yeah,
pretty accurate.
Yeah, I kind of agree with him, man. I mean, like, when you get to that level, it's probably not him. It's probably a problem with the direction or the writing or something in there. So anyway, let's see if there was anything else in here. Something about cookies. They're okay with us playing the best friend, but once we touch their heroes, once we lead, once we trailblaze, it's like, oh my God, it's just a bit too much. They're pandering. Okay, Black Panther, so that's not true. Even though I don't think that movie's very good, I think his best performance and his best stuff was in Civil War. And everyone has said, like I had mentioned before, that he should have been the main character. So sounds like maybe it's a problem with their industry, not with the moviegoer. Like it's the stupidest thing, man. Like I don't know where some of these people come up. It makes me think, dude. And this is like an experience thing. You know how like if you spend too much time sort of like in your own bubble, whether that's like your personal bubble and you're like thinking things through too much, you start sort of like making these ideas up about things because you're perceiving them that way, even though that's not actually what's happening. It's like, that's what this sounds like. And that's what a lot of the time when, and I don't know, man, he could be race baiting. I bet the dude's struggling like super hard. It goes back to what you were saying before, hurt people. So it's possible that it's kind of.
Way to tie in.
Yeah. Wait, hang on. I think I got something for that. Wait, what's on my Discord thing?
I know, I'm looking right now.
Oh, nope, not that one. No. Okay, never mind. Oh no, yeah, these are all locked. That's so stupid. Come on, Discord.
Did you hear it on my end?
No.
Oh, you did. I was doing the air horn over and over again.
Oh, really? The air horn is. Yeah, there we go.
But you gotta click it really fast. There we go.
Yeah. Hopefully, I don't think they can hear that. I can't even hear it. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. Johnny boy. Come on, man. Like, let's be real. Like, maybe try to like actually find the core root of the problem and stop. Like, these people have got to stop blaming fans, man.
Yeah, you can't go to blaming fans.
They gotta stop. People like, it's so funny because I've been taught. More recently I've been a little more like vocal and honest with like the people around me that I work with in particular.
Yeah.
And obviously this is all like media stuff, so it's not as if it's like the end of the world. But they'll like ask me about this stuff and I'm just like, dude, it sucks. And it's like, I'm sorry. And it's like, I know it sounds like I hate everything. I was like, but you got to look at it from the perspective of like, it's all this modern slop.
It's all like, garbage.
Yeah.
I'm glad you say that, because that's why I try and say when my wife asks me about someone or a friend or a coworker or anything, and I'm like, man, I know it's like every time you ask me about something, I'm saying it's not good, but it's not because I just want to hate things,
bro,
or I just want to dislike things.
Yeah.
It's just like they're literally, it's just not good. So if everything is constantly that's coming out isn't good, and it's just the same thing after the same thing, then the issue really isn't me.
Nope.
It's the product that's coming out. I'm just trying to be honest and this is all right, or this is good, this is great, this is amazing, or this is below average, this is terrible, this is bottom of the barrel, this is where you dig a ditch and you keep digging to put everything else.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you have to dig a little bit harder to find like the good stuff that's like modern. You gotta look at A24. You gotta look at some, because people always say that it's like, oh, A24, like, why is everybody? It's like, it's because they make interesting stuff. It's like, it's not always gonna be the best thing you've ever seen, but like they do they make interesting stuff, and they're branching out and they're doing different types of genres. Like, and dude, I literally am working on
a superhero movie.
Yeah,
with a guy with a cape that has
like,
to earn his powers.
Yeah.
But now instead of it being a guy, it's a woman, or it's this and it's that, and the story doesn't matter. It's just all about what's your identity.
Yeah. What if we made Aslan a woman?
What if we got Meryl Streep to voice Aslan?
Dude, and like I'm literally working on a list of 100.
When Morgan Freeman is still alive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, dude. Honestly,
I mean,
maybe. I would have to like see it, you know what I mean? Like, but I could go for that for sure. Even like Troy Baker, who does the voice, he does a lot of voice acting. And he did Joel in The Last of Us. That dude could probably do a pretty killer Aslan, like with the right direction.
Or Jesse Seinberg.
I don't know about that. But yeah, dude, I'm working on this list of 100 movies.
Sorry, Jesse. I like Jesse. I just always go to.
Are you talking to Jesse Eisenberg?
Eisenberg. That's it,
Eisenberg, not
sorry.
Steinberg. I knew
Eisenberg,
who
yeah.
you meant immediately, but for whatever reason, it took me a
Eisenberg,
second.
because I just think of freaking Zack Snyder through my mind.
But yeah, I've got this list of 100 movies that I'm working on that I love, like stuff that I adore. It just let's see, the most recent. Oh, actually, the most recent thing on here is 2023. It might be the only one, and like after that, it might be 2019. As I'm looking through this stuff, so there's like stuff that you would consider modern on here, but dude, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, you really look at this list, dude, and it's mostly, it's like older for the most part. Holy crap. It's wild to look at this. Oh, there's a 2021. Okay, but yeah, like overall, I mean, it's a small handful of what I would consider like modern stuff at this point. And then a lot of it, man, it's like 2001, 2003, 91, 07, 81, 80, 1974, 1984.
It's older movies.
Yeah.
Basically, what you're saying is Minecraft didn't make the list.
No, not at all. I'm trying to think.
Close, right?
Yeah. Wait, where is that? What's the oldest? What's the oldest movie I've got on this list? 1942. There's, gonna, at least something from the 50s. Oh, I might actually have to do that. What I might try to do is, like, if I have room for it, I might try to put, try to do something from, like, the 20th century, like one movie per century as well. For some of the back ones, because there's a lot of stuff from like 80s, 90s, a couple things from the 70s, so maybe something from the 60s. I've got something from the 50s. I think I have something from the 40s.
You mean each decade?
Mm-hmm. Decade, not century. My bad.
Like 1860.
1860, yeah. I have some. Yeah, I've got 1939. Might be the oldest I've got on here right now.
Nice.
So there's a lot of, like, it's a pretty good variety of stuff. So it's just like, yeah, there's good stuff out there. There's always been good stuff. And there will be other things that come out that are good. It's just gotten to be like every one out of 100 movies is actually worth seeing. And then, people are talking about like, oh, you got to give this a shot. And it's like, no, I don't. I don't have to do that. Now, if a whole bunch of people say it's good, maybe then I'll be like, all right, I'll look into it. But more often than not, it's like, I'll catch it on streaming and then we'll talk about it and maybe I'll change my mind then. But like, I'm not going to go out of my way to go see like just another kind of like slop movie that doesn't do anything for me. I'm just over it.
Exactly.
And I want to talk about stuff that I like. It's one of the reasons like I added I thought it was a good idea for us to like go down this list or whatever, because at least it's like, yeah, like I like stuff. I promise. Anyway, Joseph, anything else to add before we close out? Did I forget anything? I think we covered everything we needed to this week. Yeah, I think we're good. You good?
I'm good, man.
Awesome. We'll figure it out. I'm so behind on like our schedule of like movies and stuff. There's been a ton of things that have come out. My backlog's just getting too big for this year already.
Same.
Took the time to watch.
To even focus on watching things.
I know. I took the time to watch Captain America, but there's like other stuff that's probably better that I've just been like, yeah, I'll get around to. It's something wrong with me. All right, dude. Well, thank you for another episode. Glad you're back. Everyone who's listening, whether you're here during the live stream, whether you're catching this on the podcast later on, whatever the case may be, thank you guys for tuning in to the show. Thank you guys so much for the support that you have given us over 200 episodes at this point.
Yes.
Gonna try to get some of our classic stuff back up and running again. Just gotta actually like sit down and find the time. Joseph and I don't even know if we were streaming at the time, but it's definitely been hard to find time to get everything done recently.
Yes.
But we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get as many shows out to you guys this year as we can. Obviously, with some weird stuff going on, because work is always just kind of, it has a tendency to be all over the place. The goal is Tuesday nights, 7:45 Eastern. But we're gonna try to get a show out to you guys every week, in one way or another. And we got The Last of Us coming up, so we're definitely gonna be talking about that. Hopefully, we'll bring on technically onto our show, because I think we're gonna go on, and I definitely want to try to get on his show for that first episode, because I'm curious about who he's gonna have on for that, because I would not consider myself an expert when it comes to The Last of Us, but I do know a lot about it.
Right.
And it's just a subject that I actually am somewhat passionate about. And my opinion's kind of evolved with that stuff over time, which I think is cool. So we definitely need to get on there, talk about season 2. I've had a ton of notes from the games, and then watching. I've only seen that first season one time. I don't really feel the need to go back and watch it again, because I've played the games, and so I know the beats, and then I mostly remember the things that they decided to change, at least the important stuff. So it'll be fun to get on there, dude, and talk to them about that. And we'll have to have technically on, and Justin, and maybe we can finally get Zax to show up. I haven't seen him in a while. He's up in Canada, where they're all worried about getting integrated into the United States. It's so funny. All right, well, thank you all so much for tuning in, and until next week, y'all take it easy.
See ya.